My week in weight loss and wellness. Let's jump into it on this Casual Friday. Hello and welcome to Amanda Widener Wellness. My name is Amanda. I'm so excited to have you here. On this channel, we talk about all things weight loss, weight management, tools like GLP-1s, fitness, nutrition, and everything in between. Today is Casual Friday. Casual Friday is a series I have where I just chit chat with you about my week, update you on what's going on. I also like to talk about articles that I found that have to do with weight loss, fitness, GLP-1s, that sort of thing. And then I answer any questions that have come in from you over the past week. So let's jump into that, but before I do, I have a disclaimer. I am not a doctor or a healthcare provider, and while I am a personal trainer and group fitness instructor, I'm not your personal trainer or group fitness instructor, so please speak with your doctor and wellness team before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or medication regimen. Everything on this channel is based on my opinions and experiences. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into my week. So, I did miss posting last Friday and I apologize for that. I had fully planned to make a video, and then when the time got away from me for that, I was gonna go live, and then that just didn't happen because we got back from our post-Christmas vacation on Monday. The kids started back to school Tuesday. We were like immediately back into school and sports and my schedule and all the things. And then we got to Friday and my daughter had a cheer competition out of state. So we had to like pack and get on the road and all of that. And it just, the day got away from me. So I don't foresee that happening very often, but I apologize if you were looking forward to the video, and I hope that you will take this as my sincerest apologies and we will move forward together. So let me update you on what's been going on with my weight loss journey. So if you don't know, I started on a weight wellness journey last November 2024. I was 284 pounds. I'm 5'5" and 40 years old. I had a lot of health things going on, and so I decided to make some changes, but I made very small changes over time. And here I am a little over a year later, and my current weight is 177 pounds. So that is 107 pounds down. That is the weight I was kind of a couple of days before Christmas. So that was the lowest I had gotten on my journey, and then I've been floating up and down about 2 pounds ever since then, which was fine. It was the holidays. I enjoyed the holidays. I made my favorite traditional foods. We made cookies, and I had, extra creamer in my coffee that was peppermint flavored, and I had a candy stick, and I got chocolate in my stocking. And then we went on vacation for a week to Universal Studios, and I can't have gluten. So finding foods that were safe to eat that were also high in protein and high fiber were a challenge. I did my best, but I had to eat what I could find. And then of course there were still treats that I wanted to have while I was there. I had a butterbeer every day we were on vacation. If you don't know what that is, it's like a butterscotch kind of soda-y drink, and it's delicious. And you can get them in the Harry Potter areas of the Universal parks. And so I had one every day, and I have no regrets about it. It was delicious. So, but I also wasn't weightlifting while I was on that vacation. While we were walking around the parks and standing, it wasn't walking like I normally do. I wasn't doing my dance workouts. I was just fully out of my routine. So to keep within that range throughout this last month where things were so up and down and not normal, I am totally fine with that. And I know that moving forward, things are gonna go back to the path that I was on, which is continuing to lose a little bit more. I would like to get down like one more dress size if I can. If I can't, I'm fine too. A year ago, if you had asked me if I would be a size 8, I would have laughed and said no way. So I'm very happy with where I am, but I'm gonna keep moving forward to see where I can get. So yeah, that was my weight. Food-wise, I did really well. I had a lot of delicious meals this week. It was the first week since before Christmas where I really sat down and was able to plan out our meals ahead of time as a family, get the groceries we need, meal prep. I just haven't been in the swing of things because we've been traveling and it was the holidays. So it felt good to get back into that routine. So some of the things I've had for breakfast this week, I did like a one egg white, side salad, and some fruit. I've done that in a previous What I Eat in a Day video. I did a protein smoothie bowl in my What I Eat in a Day video this week. And I know someone messaged me and was like, do you know your protein bowl spilled all over your counter? Yes, I do. I had to clean it up. But when I put the fruit on top, that was like it. It was already overflowing. So I ate it at the counter, and then I just cleaned up the mess, and it was delicious, and I have no regrets. I also, for breakfast this week, did like a one egg white, bell peppers and onions that I sauteed from a frozen bag, cottage cheese, and I kind of made that into like an omelet, and I served it with some fruit. yesterday I did a protein shake, and then it was my son's award ceremony at school, so I was out of my regular routine. So I grabbed a coffee and a protein shake to go very early. We left the house before 7 a.m. And then I meet up with one of my friends on Thursdays each week to run errands and go shopping together and stuff. So by the time I met up with her, I was starving because I had my shake so much earlier than usual, and I didn't have anything to go with it. So we went to this coffee shop. They actually had a gluten-free treat, and so I got myself a gluten-free funfetti donut. It was delicious, and I'm totally okay with that. So I had my coffee and a donut later in the morning, and then I was back to my normal routine by lunch. And then let's see, I have also had for lunches this week, we did turkey meatball soup. So I made turkey meatballs and like a veggie soup, put those in there with a salad, really tasty. I made in my what I eat in a day video this week, I did that viral sweet potato taco meat bowl. So it was like sweet potatoes, taco meat of some sort. The viral one does beef, but I did chicken. And then I served it with cottage cheese and broccoli and avocado, and it sounded weird, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be good, but it was actually delicious. I'm gonna add it into my like rolling repertoire of lunch options. And so I did that 2 days this week. And then I did leftover chicken meat with, and I made like a bowl, so for dipping Quest protein chips in. So I did cottage cheese, the leftover chicken taco meat with some seasoning, bell peppers and onions that I had left over, and I heated that up, and then I dipped the protein chips in there. Very tasty. Oh, I actually put some leftover broccoli in there too. I know it sounds weird, but it was good, and mostly all I could taste was the peppers and onions anyway. And then today's gonna be a rotisserie chicken and an apple and goat cheese salad. So lettuce, shredded carrots, cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, goat cheese, cut up little pieces of apple. I might throw some like no sugar craisins in there maybe as well. That's really tasty with the goat cheese as well. But yeah, so I'm just gonna do that, something nice and easy. And then dinners this week, we did turkey spaghetti. So ground turkey, store-bought spaghetti sauce. My husband likes to season that up and add black olives and onion, so he did that. The first night I had it with gluten-free noodles. The second night I had it with spaghetti squash because the noodles were just too heavy. So the spaghetti squash the second night was nice. We did a side salad both nights. And then Wednesday night, we had plans to do rotisserie chicken, but I got to the store and they had none left. So my husband and kids decided to treat themselves to some pizza. I can't get a lot of takeout pizzas, and it was also the day to take my shot, so pizza was out of the question for me. It just makes my stomach hurt that close to when I take my injection. So instead, I went to Chick-fil-A and I got grilled chicken nuggets and a side salad. And when I do that, I get grilled nuggets with buffalo sauce, and I pour the sauce in the container with the nuggets and shake it up. And then I get a side salad, and on the side salad it's just lettuce, a little bit of the cheese, corn, and then I add 3 options of egg, so hard-boiled egg, and then I pour the nuggets in there, and sometimes I'll add additional dressing at home. I don't use their dressing. I like light ranch with the buffalo sauce, or sometimes I'll do Italian, that's good too. So it sounds weird, but trust me, it's delicious, and it's really, really filling. With like 8 chicken nuggets, if I'm starving, I'll do like 12 grilled nuggets. 12 grilled nuggets from Chick-fil-A is only 200 calories. So if you're really, really hungry, it's a nice quick option when you need it and you have no other option available. So I did that. And then I'm gonna try this hot honey chicken recipe that I found online. If it's good, I'll let you know about it. I might throw it into a future what I eat in a day if it's good enough to add it to my regular routine. But it's like a hot honey chicken with rice noodles and like coleslaw veggies, and you make this like teriyaki type sauce to go on top of it. But I will wait to see if it's actually good before I let you know anymore. I did, my normal snacks, yogurt bowls, or like apples with deli meat and like a string cheese stick and stuff like that. I went really simple with snacks this week. And my desserts were pudding, or I got Fairlife chocolate milk, and I put those in my Ninja Creamy containers with a tablespoon of sugar-free or no sugar added chocolate fudge pudding. Mixed it up really, really finely. I actually used my frother for my coffee thing to mix that up and stuck that in the freezer. Those are ready to make delicious creamy chocolate ice cream for the kids, my husband, and myself. The kids will probably put like a mix-in in there, like a cookie or something like that. But my husband and I like it as it is, just plain chocolate. So it's really good. I've made it with protein, like from a protein shake, the ones that are like pre-made, and I made it with the Fairlife chocolate milk. I prefer the Fairlife chocolate milk. It gives me a little extra protein, but it's creamy like regular ice cream. But if I really need extra protein in my day, I will do like a full protein shake in my Ninja Creamy container and freeze that. It's just icier instead of creamier. But those are my meals for this week. I think I did really well. My workout's been really good. I had a day where I PR'd on upper body and I had in the weight room, and I had a day where I PR'd on lower body in the weight room, meaning I was able to lift heavier or more reps than I have in the past. So usually when I hit a PR, I stay there for a couple of weeks. So I plan to be there for a while, but it was always exciting to see those numbers increase. Just know that I'm getting stronger. I really, really enjoy that. So getting myself into the weight room is a struggle, but once I'm in there, I am like laser focused on just beating who I was the last time I was in that room. I'm very competitive, so I compete with myself. I like to take track of what I was doing, like how heavy I was lifting, how many reps I did, because then I have something to compete against. So that's kind of how I keep, not only hold myself accountable, but keep myself interested. So, finding tricks like that for yourself is really important on this journey so that you constantly feel like you're challenging yourself as you move forward. All right, so that was my week. There was a few articles that I came across this week while I was, in my downtime that I wanted to talk about with you guys. I thought it would be fun, just some things that I found interesting. So the first one is that Oprah has a new book that came out this week. If you haven't heard about it, she co-wrote a book with, I'm going to mispronounce this woman's name and I apologize ahead of time, but her name is Dr. Ania M. Jastreboff. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, but the book is titled Enough: Your Health and Weight and What It's Like to Be Free. So Dr. Jastreboff is an endocrinologist and a professor at the Yale School of Medicine. She has over 20 years of experience in the field, and she likes to do these research studies. And this book that they teamed up on looks at obesity and reframing that topic of obesity and overweight as a medical condition versus a personal failure. So I found that really, really interesting. That's how I view it. Obesity and overweight is something I've struggled with my whole life. And it's always been something that I have felt guilt about, as if it was something I should have been able to prevent, to avoid, to work around, to get past. And I've never been able to. Every time I've lost weight, it's come back and then I feel like I've failed again. And it's this like deep sadness that takes over because it's like, why am I not good enough every single time? And so this conversation where we're changing the perspective of obesity and overweight, instead of it being something where someone's not good enough, they failed, to this is a medical condition and deserves scientific consideration and treatment, is something that I am fully in support of. So I have this quote that I found, and it's from the book, and I want to read it because it really kind of summarizes how I feel about the topic. So Oprah writes, recognizing once and for all that obesity is not a moral failure, that it is a chronic, relapsing disease, that has been life-changing for me. I did not get the memo 10 years ago, but now I know, and I want to spread the information to as many people as I can. Thank you, Oprah, for helping to spread that message, because it's true. The World Health Organization has recognized obesity as a chronic disease. Chronic diseases deserve medical intervention and treatment. We treat the disease of, we treat heart disease. We treat the disease of cancer. We treat, every other type of disease that's out there, pancreatic disease, liver disease. We're treating those with medications from a medical perspective. We're using science and studies and this data that keeps being collected over time to advance science to help create these interventions to either stop or prevent them from happening. Why has that not happened with obesity? So obesity has all of these other conditions that can stem from it, but what can we do to prevent or to treat obesity to help prevent these other conditions from ever becoming an issue? And I really think that that's an interesting new perspective in this world and in this space, and I want to support it. And so I'm going to be reading this book. I went ahead and purchased it. I plan to start reading it over the weekend. I will not spill any details on it for a little while, but I would like to discuss it in the future. So if you're going to be reading it, or if you have been considering reading it, or if you've already read it, let me know in the comments below so that I know who to talk to about it. I have no interest in leading a book club. I love being a part of book clubs, but I'm not going to lead one, but I would love to have a conversation on it. If you were looking for a book club on this, Lorraine from The Downsized said she's planning to start one, so you can go over to The Downsized after you finish this video and check them out. They did a live on Wednesday, and she talks about it in there. She talked about it in other videos this week as well, but I know that one for sure. So if you can find that video, then you can find out the information on it. But she is planning to have a book club on it. So if you're looking to read it and you want a supportive community who's reading it along with you, that might be a great opportunity for you. So that is Enough by Oprah and I'm gonna say her name wrong again, Dr. Jastreboff. I'm so sorry, I can't say her name. I admit it, I'm not great with names. The other article that I came across that I wanted to talk about that I found really interesting is that US News and World was reporting on an FDA change to GLP-1 labels. So the FDA announced on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, that they are going to remove the unaliving label from GLP-1s. And the reason they're doing that is that they have found no causal link, this is a quote, they have found no causal link between GLP-1s and unaliving behavior or ideation, which I found really, really positive. It's nice to know that there isn't that link, because that is a concern for some users or some people who've been considering this that may want or need this medication for the treatment of obesity or other chronic conditions that they have that these medications can help. And they were nervous about that warning on the label, and that warning they've no longer found a need for that warning to be on the label, and so the FDA is going to remove it, which I found really interesting. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for the future. I also found an article by AP News. They posted an article this week titled, "Food Companies Are Targeting Users of Weight Loss Drugs with GLP-1 Friendly Labels." So this is signaling something that we already know, right? The use of GLP-1s and the interest in overall wellness is changing the way that people think about food and the way that they want to shop for their food, meaning that these companies need to change the way they market to consumers. So there's big companies out there, these major conglomerates like Nestle, Conagra Brands, and Latalis. I think I might be saying that wrong. They're a French company, but these are big companies that have little subsidiary companies that make most of the foods you find in your grocery store available to us. So like if you're looking at some of like the healthy choice foods and that sort of thing, these brands own those smaller brands. And so some of these foods have been leaning in the direction of being marketed towards GLP-1 consumers already without it directly saying that. And now some of these companies are changing it to actually be directly sell directly to the users of these GLP-1 medications. So what that's showing us is that GLP-1 users are influencing food, right? They're influencing the way that food is made and the way it's produced, because we're demanding better options. We want more nutritious options, and we want options that are conducive to our lifestyle, that mix well with the lifestyles that we want, right? So we want high protein, we want high fiber, we want lower calorie, we want it to be from good ingredients, and we want it to be easily accessible and usable because we're busy people. And I really found that interesting, just to see how in such a short amount of time, this community has changed such a massive part of like our society. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this. This is something that I think we already knew, right? We're making these big, like people who use these medications or people who are on wellness journeys, that they're demanding better food options, and it's finally starting to be recognized by these food companies, and I'm interested to see where that goes in the future. Another article that I found is about protein powder, and so this one is protein powder. The protein powder market is projected for significant growth, according to PR Newswire. So what they said is that the current forecast projected for high protein powders market is to grow from 27 billion in 2025, so 27 billion this past year, to 49.6 billion in 2035. So in 10 years, the annual growth rate is projected to be 6.3%. I found that fascinating, and I think it shows that just like with food manufacturers, the protein market specifically is reflecting that consumers are looking for better food options to live better, longer, healthier lives. And protein is a big part of that, right? We want protein so that we can have strong muscles, so that we can live the active lifestyles we all want to live. So I found that really, really interesting that that market is projected to grow so much in such a short amount of time. The next article I wanted to talk about is the last one that I wanted to discuss, and it's about Peloton. So like the company with the bikes with the screens on them that you can exercise with. Peloton and Respin Health announced new findings from a recent targeted study that focused on women's health during perimenopause and menopause. So women 40 to 65. So this is kind of what this is. It combines these two companies. So Respin Health, if you're not familiar with them, is a holistic digital health platform that's focused on menopause and women's longevity. It was founded by the celebrity Halle Berry, and they offer lifestyle plans that include community support, coaching, and access to specific medical interventions like hormone replacement therapy, which is generally something that women who are perimenopausal or menopausal need support with. So it's just a platform for that. So what this study did is it was a 60-day multi-component program comprised of the online community support, coaching sessions, educational resources, and fitness programming created by Peloton, the experts at Peloton. And this 60-day study found that 84% of the women experienced overall perimenopause or menopausal symptom relief, which is amazing, right? I shouldn't say relief, improvement. That's amazing, because if you are perimenopausal or menopausal, you're probably struggling with at least one, but more than likely more of these symptoms, and they can really overwhelm your life, and they can become very confusing. So it's nice to know there is some sort of study that's showing there's a way to improve those symptoms and better your life while you go through these changes. So Respin followed 267 Peloton members ages 40 to 65 who participated in a tailored program that included cardiovascular and strength workouts by Peloton. So participants aimed for 2 to 3 high intensity and 2 to 3 strength sessions per week. And then if they were having a week where they just didn't have the capacity or they had lower energy, they could do 1 moderate intensity exercise or like workout that week. So out of that group of 267 participants under those guidelines, they found that so in menopause, there are 35 measured menopausal symptoms, okay? There's actually more than that, but those are the ones they usually measure. And of those 35 symptoms during this study, they found improvement on average of all of them, and those improvements were substantial, okay? Some of the symptoms that they're talking about improving are feeling tired, brain fog, lack of energy, weight gain, and poor memory. Which are huge things to have concerns about when you're going through all these hormonal fluctuations. So to see that there is a substantial and recognizable change and improvement of those symptoms is amazing, especially when it just has to do with coaching and creating this online support, as well as an education and then working out. So Jen Cotter, the chief content officer at Peloton, had some remarks about this study, and she said, the improvements reported by this group reinforce what we have always known. Movement is medicine and a catalyst for transformation. And I totally agree with her. Movement is medicine. It's what can keep us feeling well. I have multiple autoimmune diseases, and one question that I have gotten in the past is, when you gained weight, why did you keep exercising? Like, wasn't it hard on your body? Weren't you worried about injuring yourself? And yes, I was, but every time I exercised, I felt better. And with all my autoimmune disease symptoms, I was better able to manage those when I was exercising. If I removed fitness from my routine, my symptoms were much more overwhelming. So I would choose to exercise to have those symptoms feel more manageable, even at a larger size, at a heavier weight, because that made my lifestyle much more peaceful is the word that I'll use. So I totally agree with her. Movement is medicine. So if you can move, any type of movement is better than no movement. All right, so that's all the articles I wanted to talk about. I did get a couple of questions this week that I wanted to bring to today's video. The first one was someone asked, how much water should I be drinking per day? And so again, I am not a doctor or a healthcare provider, so I can't answer that specific to you, but I can give you the general guidelines that we learn when we become fitness professionals. And so I did want to cross-reference this to be able to give you a source. So I went to the Mayo Clinic's website to confirm that my numbers were the same as theirs, and they were. So these are general guidelines for average men and women of an average age with an average activity level and an average lifestyle. So they're not sedentary, but they're also not like professional athletes, right? So these are the averages for the average human. Men should be aiming for 15.5 cups or 3.7 liters per day, and women should be aiming for 11.5 cups or 2.7 liters per day. However, this can change based on a number of things. If you have other medical conditions that dehydrate you quickly, or if you're on certain medications that dehydrate you or require more hydration, if you are in a hot or humid climate, if you are not sleeping enough, if you are dealing with gastrointestinal distress, so like diarrhea or vomiting, you're going to need to hydrate more. If you are dealing with pregnancy, which if you're dealing with pregnancy, you probably don't need to be in a calorie deficit, but you might be on a wellness journey, so please speak with your healthcare provider about that. Or if you're breastfeeding, again, speak with your healthcare provider while you're breastfeeding and trying to continue on in your journey, but you do need to create more liquid in your body, so you're going to need to hydrate more to compensate for that. So all things to consider. So again, I can't tell you specifically to you, but those are general guidelines. Normally we say if you are not feeling thirsty and your urine is a light yellow color, you are probably well hydrated, but again, it's still something you need to talk to your doctor about and they can test you for. The next question that I had was, how intense should I be working out and how do I know if I'm there? Which I thought was a brilliant question, right? So intensity level and your workout is really going to be dependent on the individual. Some people just like to work out more intensely than others. Some physically shouldn't be working out at a high intensity level. So speak with your healthcare provider to find out what intensity level is best for you, or if there's anywhere you should be avoiding. They may also have you do like a stress test to find out what your max level should be. So you can do a test where you're kind of hooked up to equipment and they monitor your heart rate and that sort of thing while you're exercising. They can also do something called a VO2 max where they can see what how you should be breathing to find out how intensely you should be working out that way. So those are tests your doctor may want to run if you ask this question. Don't be afraid of asking that question just because of this though, because it's valuable information to have to maximize your workouts, but to make sure that you're not overdoing your workouts. So once you have an idea of how intensely you should be working, the easiest way to check your intensity level is the talk test. So the talk test is just as simple as that. If you are in the middle of working out, what kind of conversation can you have? If you are working at a low intensity and you can still have a normal conversation like I'm having right now, that is a low intensity workout, right? So you're not gasping for breath, you're able to maintain a regular conversation, you're not pausing to find your breath again. So that's usually things like a light stroll or like a yoga without a flow, a stretching class, that sort of thing. If you're working out at a moderate intensity, you're going to be able to have a conversation, but it's going to be just a little bit more challenging. You might have sentences, but they're not completely strung together, right? So you've got to pause to so that might be if you're walking at kind of like a brisk pace, but not like crazy fast, you're not running or jogging. Or if you're in like a dance style class, but you're still able to talk to the person next to you and answer questions and joke around, right? So sometimes if I have people in my classes who are holding on a full conversation, I will tease them about them not working at a high enough intensity. So there's nothing wrong with working out at a moderate intensity. You can still get a great workout in at a moderate intensity. And for many people, that's the level that they choose to work out at. But if you want to get a more intense workout where you can burn more calories in less amount of time, and your doctor has cleared you for that, the way to find out if you're at a high intensity is that you are able to get out words, but you're probably not able to string them together into a full sentence without having to catch your breath. So speech is difficult. It's gonna be broken up, right? You might be able to be like, let's go. Okay, I've got it, right? That's going to be a high intensity or a vigorous workout. So quick reminders: low intensity, able to hold a conversation; moderate intensity, broken up sentences, couldn't sing a song. High intensity or vigorous intensity is going to be broken up words. So that's kind of how you know how intensely you're working out. All right, so that was it for me today. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything I talked about, my week, how I did, if you think that I did okay. I would love to know about your week. How did you do? Are you feeling good? What are you doing to move yourself forward next week so that you can continue to reach your goals? What do you think about the articles I brought to your attention? I found them fascinating. I would love to know your thoughts. Are you going to be reading Oprah's book? Please let me know about that so I know who to chat with. And if you have any questions, you can put those in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them in next week's video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I love having you join our community. I'm almost to 500 subscribers. When I get there, I get to add on a little bit more. So the further I get with adding on new members, the more that I can offer to you as a community. So that's really exciting to me. So please let your friends know about us and we can keep building and growing together so that we continue to cheer each other on and support each other in our wellness journeys. All right, that's it for me today. Thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.